All right, welcome back. We are ACI Course 10, Class 5 already. It's April 5th, 2026, where I am. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there with you just by way of your thinking of them. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Learning about emptiness and karma, we glimpse how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And that longing into an intention. And with that intention, we turn our minds back to our precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the pure world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with the blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayani. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings totally awaken for the benefit of every single other. All right, so last class, we had that discussion about the 16 aspects of impermanence, by which is meant the 16 aspects of the 4 Arya truths. And we learned that there is apparently a school of thought that says, study those well, meditate on those, come to understand those, and you can reach the end of all mental afflictions and seeds for more, thus reaching nirvana. And then we heard the discussion that said, no, you can temporarily suppress your mental afflictions by understanding those 16 aspects really, really well. But that we can't realize those 16, meaning make them real, until we've had the direct perception of emptiness and come out of it. And so that the higher way says, it's not that understanding the 16 aspects is not a good thing to do and to learn to live by them, of course, but they aren't sufficient to stop perpetuating the ignorance that's the cause of those mental afflictions in the first place. And further, without experiencing ultimate reality directly, we cannot stop the ignorance through which we perpetuate our suffering. And so we can't reach the end of our suffering, let alone the omniscience of a Buddha. So our argument, you can't reach Buddhahood by realizing the 16 aspects of the 4 Arya truths, isn't an argument you would have with someone who's not trying to become a Buddha. They'll go, fine, I'm trying to reach nirvana. I can do it. I can use those to reach nirvana. And that was the discussion, is, can you really? So why can't we burn negative seeds off and plant our new seeds with enough kindness to reach nirvana without experiencing emptiness directly. And then for that, we went to Lord Maitreya's 6 steps. So let's go through the 6 steps, only let's go through them backwards, just for something different. How and why is it that we perpetuate our broken world? Korwar Kor. How and why do we Korwar Kor? Because we acted in a way that collected impure karma. Why did we do that? Because we experienced things and ourselves as things that we like and things that we don't like, but both ignorantly. We experience ignorant liking and ignorant disliking. Why do we do that? Because we perceive the thing we like as having the pleasantness that we want in it, from it. Same with the thing we don't want. Its quality is in it. Why do we do that? Because we have the seeds ripening that make us do that. Well, why does that happen? Because we have the seeds of belief in self-existence. Did I get all 6 or did I miss one? Why do we have the seeds for the belief in self-existence? Because we Korwar Kored, because we acted from our ignorance. We planted more seeds with ignorance. But I don't even know I'm ignorant, right? There is the rub. Why is it that seeing emptiness directly is the necessary piece to stop that? And we learned it's because when we come out of that direct experience of ultimate reality, we now know that the way we're experiencing our world is inaccurate to the way it truly exists, even though we can't see it accurately again. Because of this changed belief, we cannot be replanting the seeds of ignorance. Seems to me we're still replanting some kind of seed for seeing something as self-existent, but we're planting that seed with not believing it. And so slowly, 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 all those seeds are going to be burnt off, not replanted, not added to. So our previously ignorantly planted seeds, that ignorance is added to with every current ignorantly planted seed. And when we cut off that cycle, it's just a matter of time, as we've learned. So then, the lower school says, who says so? And we learned about the scriptures, and Master Shantideva, or the higher school's response to them about the scriptures is, well, you didn't always believe your scriptures either. You learned about them, you checked them, you lived according to them, you decided they were true. Try that out for the Mahayana scriptures, you might surprise yourself. Not saying they are too true, right? Because the Mahayana scriptures aren't true in them from them any more than the Hinayana scriptures are true in them from them. All right, then lastly, the guy says, I tried meditating on emptiness. It was too scary for words. I can't do it. And Master Shantideva says, oh, come on. Your life is scarier than an emptiness meditation. So Master Shantideva goes into these, he continues in these wrong ideas about the existence of ourselves and our experiences, me and my world. And he's wanting us to get a better understanding of how this misunderstanding works. So he says, basically, this misunderstanding can be divided into two categories. Let me get my screen there. Two categories, Denzin Kuntak and Denzin Lenke. Denzin means, I just it literally means truth to hold. Zen is this idea to hold, but not physically hold, but a belief that we hold. And Den here is truth. But what it implies is this belief in things as self-existent. But remember that what is meant by self-existent is different according to the level that you understand it. Highest school, to be self-existent means to exist in some way other than as the projection of the experiencer, the projection being the karmic seed ripening result of some past deed, self-existent. So below that level, we're holding things to have some kind of identity or quality or function in them in some way, even as we say, I don't believe they're self-existent because I know they depend on other things. So when we say self-existent, we don't mean literally independent of any other factor, but belief-wise, like there's a part of us that does think that. So Denzin is to hold as true, meaning things having their independent existence and identity, independent of our experience of them. Kuntak means learned ideas. We're gonna come back to this word kuntak when we dig into mind-only school deeper in future courses, and then we'll see it has the same connotation, but here it's being used in a broader way. Denzin Kuntak is the tendency to believe things are self-existent, learned ideas. And it's a little funny because when Geshe was teaching this, he said, these are things that we learn to hold as self-existent. But I don't remember ever being taught, these are the ABCs, and they have their identity and nature in them. And so when you put them all together, you can make words, and then you can read, and then you can communicate. And, I don't remember anybody ever teaching me those things were self-existent. But as I learned them, part of my learning of them is that they did exist in the way that I'm experiencing them. Like I didn't wonder, whoa, is that coming from my mind or is that out there from its own side? I didn't ever wonder that, except maybe a couple of times staring at the night sky when I was young. But the point is, we learn things about how things work, where we come from, what's true, what's not true. And implied in all of that is that those things work in the way we perceive them to work. They have their identities in them. These are meaning ideas and beliefs that we're not just born with. Like, we aren't born knowing Big Bang Theory. We aren't even born knowing God made me. We aren't born knowing Santa Claus, right? We had to learn those things. And as we learn them as self-existent, because nobody said otherwise. As we grow up and have our own experiences, it may very well be that some of those belief systems we come to reject, to choose not to believe anymore, or something shows us that it doesn't work the way we expected and we drop them. But for most of us, those shifts in the Denzen Kuntak isn't shifts from, whoa, I didn't know these were my seeds ripening, and now I do, right? That's what we're trying to get to. It's not usually what pops up in our minds when we reject some old belief system. The second category of wrong belief is Denzen Lenke. Lenke, K means to grow or born. So Lenke is inborn. This is the tendency to hold things as self-existent that we're born with. So back in Lord Maitreya's 6 steps, that Denzen Lenke is what we have already, and it ripens into that belief, and that ripens into that experience in core. The Denzen Lenke doesn't need to be taught to us. It is the underlying belief that makes us think wrongly about the things we learn, about where things come from. So we get these 2 different definitions. I'm not going to go through the Tibetan word for word, but it's there if you want to have it. So drupte lo gyurwa la tugupe denzin. There's the word denzin. What this says is mainly the Denzen Kuntak, the learned belief in self-existence, is a tendency to see things as self-existent, which always relies upon someone teaching us a belief system and changing our mind in that way. So not meaning I didn't think of things as self-existent and now they taught me that they are. Not that. It's that we didn't know something about where I came from. We got taught, oh, you evolved. And then I believe it. My mind changes and I believe it. And I believe it to be true in it, from it. That's the self-existence part. The innate belief, it has a definition as well. Tokpa mepe ne Jesu shukpa drupte lo gyur magyar nigala yupe denzin. Tokpa mepa ne means from beginningless time, which Geshe points out is literal, not meaning once upon a time, but meaning truly since forever. Since forever. We have experienced me and mine as self-existent, and that has continued in our minds, regardless of whether we've been exposed to belief systems. So the translation of that definition is people who have and people who have not. That's the Gyur Magyar. People who have and people who have not been exposed to a belief system both have the tendency to see things as self-existent, and this has been the case since beginningless time. Which is why we automatically learn new explanations and hold them to have truth in them from them, because our seeds ripen that belief. So Geshe-la said, if you were to ask an Arya, what's the difference between these two denzins, these two beliefs in self-existence? He says they would say, Tonglam Sagyepa. Sagyepa means 8th level, the 8th level. Tonglam is path of seeing. So altogether, it's path of seeing 8th level, which is like, what? We understand path of seeing is to see emptiness directly. And that, it seems like we'll do it for the first time. And then we're on Gomlam, our path of habituation. If we did it with a mind imbued with bodhicitta, then we are on our Bodhisattva Bhumi conveyor belt, on the first Bodhisattva Bhumi after our first direct perception. And then, we're working to continue to grow our virtues to move us along the path. And we'll have another direct perception of emptiness with the mind imbued with bodhicitta that will move us to the 2nd level. And at each level, we are burning off our seeds for ignorance and not replanting them and working on that specific behavior of that perfection according to our Bhumi level. And when we reach level 8, we've learned that it's at that point that we have done the work necessary to burn off and not replant our active mental afflictions and damage enough of our ignorance that our seeds for more mental afflictions can't go off. But we have not yet damaged those seeds from having seen emptiness, from having experienced things as self-existent since beginningless time, enough to have cleared out our obstacles to omniscience. Reaching that freedom from mental afflictions and seeds for more for a bodhisattva occurs at bodhisattva level 8. And I don't know if that means that's what put you on 8, or if that's what you're doing during 8. It's not clear to me. So the Arya is pointing out to us that when they had their first direct perception of emptiness, what they got rid of by that was the intellectual belief in all those explanations that they had learned about how and why life is what it is. They stopped believing that any of those things are the real causes for stuff. Not that they're not happening, not that they're not involved in some way, but they lose that intellectual belief in how our world works. The intellectual belief in self-existence, they say. That Arya will say, I remember that happening. I went into that experience about the seeds ripening, and then into that, can't say until I come out of it. And then I know that the way things appear to me are mistaken, and I can't stop doing it, but I no longer believe. Then they'll say, and I understand, also in part because of the experience that they've had, that their Denzin Lenke, their inborn seeds for experiencing things as self-existent, those are still there. And they know what they need to do or what they will do in order to damage those seeds so much that they can no longer ripen. Right? They know what they need to do to move themselves to the eighth Bodhisattva Bhumi, which lower school would say to move themselves to nirvana. But it seems like the higher school doesn't even use that word. They call it eighth Bodhisattva Bhumi. But the idea is the same. No more mental afflictions or seeds for more. Can rotten things still happen to you when you're in nirvana? Yeah, that yogi got his fingers and toes cut off. That's not pleasant. But would we suffer? Would we have mental afflictions about them? Apparently not. That's hard to wrap our minds around, isn't it? So when do we lose our belief, our learned belief, where we hold things to be self-existent at the direct perception of emptiness? When do we finally lose our inborn seeds for experiencing things and self as self-existent? Not till eighth Bhumi, also known as nirvana. How's the experience different from Bodhisattva Bhumis 1 through 7 until 8? In 1 through 7, we're still perceiving things as having their natures in them. And by somewhere in 8th Bhumi, I'm not exactly sure where, we're not even perceiving them as that way. So I guess it means we're directly aware of the seeds ripening, seeds ripening, seeds ripening, seeds ripening. I can't conceive of it. Like, wouldn't that get in the way to see the luminous image constantly? It's like, wait a minute, how could I drive my car that way? But it's just because I'm so far from it, Mm. So Master Shantideva, he says, because of these two, our learned belief and our inborn belief, there are basically three wrong ideas that are learned, right? Because of our inborn seeds, when we learn something new about how the world works, we hold it to be self-existent. So there are these three wrong ideas, Denzin Kuntaks, three basic ones. Of course, there are many more than that. These are like all the things that we've learned growing up about what it is to be human. And it's difficult to question them because they are the authorities, from when we were little kids. So the first one, Again, I'll show you the Tibetan, but I'm not going to go word for word. Gansak dang pungpo jewo dang kupo shindu. Whoops. Zimpa. Gansak means person, usually meaning one's own person. Dang pungpo means your person and your heaps. Me and my heaps. Gansak dang pungpo. Jeo dong kopo means master and servant. So this is saying, as part of our learned belief, this doesn't feel so learned, it feels inherent to me, but they say it's a learned belief that me and my heaps are like a master, me, and the heaps are my servants. So within those heaps, right, is everything about my physical form, about feeling, just the thumbs up, thumbs down at any given moment, physical or mental and neutral. And then the discriminating between things, not just the identity, but the quality and characteristic. And so the I like, I want, I don't like, I don't want. And then all the other factors that make me up, which is there's the emotion that comes up, the thinking about it. The reaction we're wanting to do is in this fourth heap. And then the consciousness heap is the consciousness through which we are aware of the things of form and aware of the things of thought, which we would call the identity of the emotion as well. So all of this is what we say. It makes up our me, like me and my experience moment by moment. And then we learn that our me is in charge. Like we learn it as really little kids, especially at 2 years old, right? We just do things. And the adults, don't do that. Don't do that. Wait, don't do that. Because, out of protection for us and the stuff that we're about to destroy because we don't know any better. But then we grow up learning how to make these distinctions about what to do and what not to do. And we're holding all of it. We seem to be being taught, look, you're making choices as to whether you climb on the counter and grab at the glasses and fall over. Don't do that, and you won't fall over and get hurt. It's like we're taught how to make responsible choices about how we move and be in our world. That's this system of you have a master of your parts. I should have said like a Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. Some kind of independent me independent of those 5 heaps, who's in charge of those 5 heaps. That makes the heaps do what I want them to do. It's like, whoa, it doesn't take long to see that can't be the case, because most of the time I can't get this heap to do what I want it to do. I can't just turn my emotions on and off according to the ones I want. If I were the master of my emotions, I'd be joyful all the time. Right? If I were master of my body, my knuckles wouldn't hurt. I wouldn't let them hurt. We're not the master of these 5 heaps. But then we hear we're not the master and we go, well, then what's going on? Like if my master of the heaps disappears, then what? So we're not saying that there's no me at all, as we all understand. It's this belief that there is a me, independent of those 5 factors that makes up my parts, my experience, my world, and that my me exists in some way independent of those so that my me can influence those. If I didn't exist independently of them, how would I have any influence over them? If I'm just a part of them, then they're in charge. Right? It is a reasonable thing to think about. One of the ways we show ourselves that we can't actually be in charge of our body is just to recognize if there is a me independent of the body that's in charge of it, then there could never be a time that my body would not respond to something I wanted it to do. And drastically, when somebody has a stroke and you ask them to move their left arm, they say, I'm trying, but it won't move, which is proof we're not in charge. And our mind would say, no, I was in charge until I had the stroke. But then that means I wasn't in charge because otherwise I wouldn't have let myself have the stroke. If you ever trip and fall and hurt yourself, clearly I wasn't in charge then. Well, why? You just quit being in charge for a minute? No, if you're in charge, you're in charge. You can't turn it on and turn it off. So what's going on when it seems like I'm in charge? Which fortunately seems like most of the time, or maybe that's unfortunate because then I believe I really am in charge. And then when there are times that it doesn't work, I get upset. Whereas if I understood that none of it was really under my conscious control yet, when things don't go well, I wouldn't get upset. I'd just continue to use them, is the idea. Second, wrong belief that we hold as correct in it from it that is mistaken is this second one, Dolchen Tram E Du Zimpa. We hold that our world of form is made up of smallest atomic particles. Dolchen Chame. Right? Adam's text in the Mixed Nuts is talking about this in detail. Like believing that our body, our world is made up of some basic tiny atomic particles that are fundamental building blocks of our reality. To believe that that's ultimate reality is the mistake. Are there tiny little atomic particles? Yes. Can we find an ultimately small one that can be no further divided? And Arya Nagarjuna goes into that. If you can have a single particle that cannot be divided, then it cannot have width or height. Because as soon as you have width or height, shape in any way, then you have this tiny little particle that has a this side and a that side. And once you have a this side and a that side, and you have another tiny little particle that has a this side and a that side, well, then those two can come together and you could make something that has two particles with a this side and a that side, says science. And that's how we build the building blocks into things like rocket ships on their way to the moon. But if it's true that this tiny little particle has sides, then you can still divide it into this side and that side. And science says, no, but we can't divide it any further. We can't physically divide it until 10 years from now, And then they say, oh, guess what? We just divided that particle. It wasn't the smallest one after all. And we've lived through that already multiple times. What we think is the smallest atomic particle ends up not being that. And Lord Buddha is going, I know, no big deal. But the thing is, it is a big deal. This belief in our material world made up of tiny particles that we can put together to create bigger particles, etc., is useful to show us how things get built, but not useful to show us why things get built. And that's an important distinction if we're interested in how am I still suffering versus why am I still suffering? We need to stop. We need to understand the why so that we can understand how we made the causes for the how. And then if we don't like it, we can stop making more causes for that suffering. It cannot be that our material world's ultimate reality is the smallest particle. It does not show us that our kindness behavior is the source of whatever comes into being from when those particles come together. Science can't come to that conclusion. Third wrong idea. Shepa kachik chamedu zimba. This is talking about our mind, the existence and function and quality of our mind. So in our 5 heaps, the heap of form is the physical aspect of our me and my parts. All the rest are aspects of mind, aspects of awareness. The thumbs up, the thumbs down, the discriminating between things, all the other factors that make us up, and clearly the awarenesses, those are all mind things, not form things. So we need to look at what do we believe is the ultimate reality of those other 4 heaps. And to do so, we look at what we believe is the ultimate reality of our own mind. Shepa kachik chame. Kachik chame means individual instances. So this is the belief that our mind is made up of indivisible instances of mind, meaning instances of awareness that are all linked together to be the my mind over time. The my mind having experience over time, that there's a this one and a this one and a this one that are a this one, that are those moments are a single whole moment. And so part of this belief is that this mind that's doing this, that it's our me that is like the continuum, the me that's experiencing that must be independent of that to be experiencing it. And we say, there's me and my parts. My parts are my physical body and my mind. So we've got this belief that there's a me, somehow independent of physical and mental, that we know has some relationship with those, but we're not holding to be those, which it can't be those. We have to be somehow separate from those, but we can't be separate from those. Like, how does it really work? What are they really trying to show us? We believe there's a me who's in charge, over these teeny little particles coming together to become a body, and who's in charge of these instances of mind. And it's like, yes, I definitely believe that there's a me, but I for sure don't believe I'm in charge. Right, because experience this thing. I am not in charge, but I used to think I was. And then it didn't make sense when things didn't go right. It didn't make sense when I couldn't just shut off an upset. Because if I'm in charge, I'm in charge, not sometimes. And it started like, what's wrong with this picture? It could drive us nuts for a lifetime if we didn't have the goodness to hear somebody explain, yeah, you think you're in charge because of your seeds ripening, but we're not in charge until we plant the seeds to be in charge. And then we could be in charge, but not in the way that we used to think we were in charge, so that it can actually work. So in these three misbeliefs, the first one, believing there's a me that's a master over my body and my mind. No Buddhist school believes that. Pre-Buddhist schools, we do believe that. And like, I think I'm in a Buddhist school, and I have to admit, I still experience myself that way. So it's not to be discredited, but it really doesn't come into play when we're looking at these different subtleties of our learned belief in self-existence and our inborn belief in self-existence. More importantly, is to look at these beliefs in what are the building blocks of our body and the building blocks of the other four heaps, the building blocks of our mind. So Middle Way says, are we any one of our parts? Are you your hand? No. Are you your thoughts? No. Are you the sum of your parts? Take all your physical parts, every moment of feeling, discriminating, all the other factors and awarenesses. If you put all those parts together, does that make you you? Like, what does your gut say? My gut says yes, of course. Madhyamaka, of course, says no. We are not the sum of our parts. And why not? So remember our friend, the pen. Colors, shapes, beliefs about plastic parts and ink inside and all of that. If we take all these parts of the pen and I lay them on the table, we have all the parts of the pen, don't we? But do we have a pen? No, because all the parts are scattered around. Okay, so let's put all the parts together. Now do we have a pen out of all its parts? No, why not? What's it missing?
The pencil.
Right, it's missing the identity pen. And don't we want to say it's missing the part where somebody sees it as a pen? But that's not its part, is it? Because to the dog, it's not missing the pen part. It's missing chew toy. Well, how can this object be missing pen and missing chew toy at the same time? If so, it's also missing pine tree, banana, right? It's missing everything else as well. The label, the identity that the experiencer puts on it is not a part of the object. So now do that with your own parts. Put all your parts together, but leave out the seed ripening label me and my parts. Like, can we even imagine it? If you are in a crowd of people, and there's nobody you know, how many of those people look at your parts and say, oh, Daria. Right? So suppose somebody does know you and they go, oh, Daria. Are they perceiving the Daria you know? No. Right? We agree to a name, but are we experiencing their label, what they mean by Daria? No, it's unique to me. Is it one of Daria's parts for her friend to recognize her? No, it's part of the friend's parts. Oh my goodness. You are all part of my parts? What? How can that be? If I'm in charge of my parts, that would make me in charge of you too, because you're one of my parts. No, no, that can't be. Hmm. So why does our mind organize information and call this pen? Like we know the punchline. It's a ripening result of a cause. It's a mental image. So the cause had to have been a mental image, must have been a mental image where I saw myself giving pens, using pens. I don't know, helping somebody with a pen before. Which if this object is a pleasant pen for me, then whatever that imprinting that I did that's making it pleasant pen now had to have some kind of kindness involved, helpfulness to the other. If this object becomes rotten pen, I don't like this pen, it makes a big mess pen, then the imprint had to have had some kind of harmfulness, unkindness to make the imprint that's ripening now as ick. Can still be pen, ick pen, or pen, good pen, and it still is not coming from it. Because if it were, it would have to be good pen or ick pen every single time I experience it. And it would have to be the same every time, and it's not. All right, let's take our break. Are we back? Okay. So if it's true about our friend the pen, the parts aren't the pen until our mind labels it pen. And included in the label pen is good pen, bad pen, I want, I don't want. Then that must also be true about our own me. Because I am not the sum of my parts. Because the I, the me, is a label imposed onto a sum of parts forced by my karma, forced by the results of my own past behavior. Then if I'm experiencing my me and my parts as a body that's aging or hurting, it's only a ripening of my karmic seeds forcing me to put that label onto those parts. And if I can replant goodness in the face of all of those ripenings, I can, when those seeds ripen, experience my me and my body as one that's not aging, not gonna die. If I can make enough virtue, my seeds can force my experience, enlightened being, onto the collection of parts. And we couldn't stop it if we wanted to. When those are the seeds that we have and they're ripening, that's our experience. No different than now. Just the quality of the seeds are different, certainly. So actually, when we say, what is this thing, me, we could conclude, I am nothing more than my karmic seeds going off in rapid succession. And that feels really slippery. We've grown up on karma the last however many years you've been studying. And my mind still says, I have karma. I make karma. I am not yet identifying as I am my karma. Karma is me. I am karma and nothing but. Even as I say that, I can feel a part of my mind that's going, no, 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 right? There's a me that's making karma. I'm not saying there's not, but it is not an existing thing that's independent of the process. It is the process. We are our karma, and actually always have been and never won't be, but we never understood it before. No object is the sum of its parts until we conceive of it as being what we believe. The sum of its parts makes it. And what it is conceived as is our karma ripening, as we know. So the opponents say, wait a minute. If we are nothing but karmic seeds going off 65 imprints per moment, then we are a different person every moment. Because every time a karma ripens and wears out, right? We were there and gone. Technically, this is what's meant by impermanence. Gross impermanence, this mistaken me will die. The pen will lose ink. Subtle impermanence is, and it's slippery. Well, then which one's the real me? There has to be a real me. That one can't be going a 65th of an instant per, right? How can I relate to that? But they go on to say, if it's the case that there's a new you every moment, well, then how can you say that karma works? Because everybody knows that karma can only ripen on the mind that plants it, right? You are the carrier, imprinter, and exprinter of karma. Nobody else can do that. And if I'm different every moment, then how is it that I'm the only one that can experience my karma ripening? It's not me anymore. It's a good argument. So there must be a me that carries on so that we can say, me is planting the seed, and then me is ripening the result. Because if not, my seeds could ripen on you and yours could ripen on me. And we know that's not the case if there is such a thing as a fully enlightened being. And they became fully enlightened being because of their love, compassion, and wisdom. That mind would be forced to ripen its merit on me. And then I couldn't still be a suffering being. So hopefully the fact that I still experience myself as a suffering being does not mean, so therefore there's no such thing as Buddha. Because like, egads, what would happen then? But rather, it means I'm misunderstanding something about karma. So thank you, Geshe Michael, for teaching us so thoroughly. So Master Shanti David answers this reply like with 3 different arguments. So the other guy has said, if it's true that we're nothing but our karma, we are changing moment by moment. And that means there's no carrier for what we call my karma. It can't be that. Master Shanti Deva gives us this one, the lejepe dudang drebu nongwe du kikan sak se tade. This one is saying that it is true that the you that plants the karmic seed is different than the you that experiences the result. Like he agrees with them. He hears them using their argument as a case for some inherent meanness that in those days were called Atman, like a subtle aspect of our me. You could call it a soul, but some unchanging me deep inside. Because that's what we would be implying when we said, no, there has to be a me that carries over. That's the same one as the one that planted the seed as gets the result. Because it is true that the person who plants the seed is different than the person who experiences the result. And he says, and that would be true even if you had a Atman, even if you have a soul aspect to oneself that is the thing that experiences and plants the karma, that would be changing also. Even if you hold it to be the same one, by the time you're 20 years older and you reap the result of some decision you made when you were 15, you're different. Come on. That's not an argument against being changing, and being our karma, right? Technically, it makes more sense. He goes on to say, Gyudusu Drebu Nyong Mishi, this one. It is also true that it is impossible to experience the result at the same time as the cause. So he's saying, if we need the person to be the same one who experiences the result as the one who made the cause, then no time can pass. Because by the time has passed from cause to result, you are different. And if you had a cause and a result happening at the same time, they are not cause and result. They are the same thing because it's happening at the same time. Third, Yun Chikla Jepapo Dang Drebu Chupapo Tenrung. Tenrung means it's okay to say. This one's a little slippery in my opinion. It's all right to say that the person who causes the karma and the one who experiences the result, the lei chepa po, the one who creates the karma, and the drebu chupa po, the one who experiences the result. It's okay to say that those are the same person going on in a stream. And it's like, wait a minute, you're just wiggling out of that. When we think of a stream of water, right? The water's going down continuously. And so we can say, look, there's a stream of water. But if at any moment you're sitting there watching it go by, there's no two moments where that stream is the same, is there? Water molecules zinging by. You can't freeze frame the stream and have it be the same in two moments and still have what you call a stream. If we were to freeze frame it, you wouldn't have a stream. You would have, okay, something unchanging, unmoving. But you back it all up and you have this constant stream that's never the same two moments in a row. So he's saying our me is like that. Constant stream, meaning always flowing, but never the same two moments in a row because it's coming out of the seeds every single time, every instant, and being replanted every instant, right? So he says, we're not saying there's no me when we say the me is changing moment by moment, and so therefore there's no me. We're saying the me is changing moment by moment, and so therefore there's the stream me. But when you try to pin down an actual me, you can't find it. Because even if you could, there'd be this single instant that can't do anything, that isn't, right? So he says it's okay to say that person over time is the one that experiences the result of this, what was planted in the mind by the behavior. And it doesn't have to be the same one. It's just still the same. I'm going to use the term subject side. Hey, if we need to label our me in some more subtle way, we would say in karma, any moment of karma, there's a subject side, an object side, and an interaction between, called the three spheres, right? So if every seed ripening has three spheres, every seed planting has three spheres. Who is the subject side? What does subject side mean? The awarer, right? The who we think is the one who's paying attention. So every seed ripening has to have a subject side, and every seed planting has a subject side, also object side, also interaction between. And so that's where the idea of the stream comes from. If we're just talking about our me, we would say it's the fact that every seed has a subject side ripening, and every seed planted has a subject side. So there's always going to be subject side, but it's never going to be the same two moments in a row. But it's never going to be somebody else's subject side, because that's not a subject side, that's an object. So there's always also an object ripening and being planted. And there's always also the interaction between. And all of that happening is what we're calling the stream of me and my life, me and my parts over time. He says, fine, relate to that. And that's how we understand that we are nothing but our karma. And it's true that we're never the same two moments in a row. And we still are the only ones that can carry our own karma. Right? Did that get clear? Luisa, can I finish this up and then get to your question, please?
Okay.
Thank you. So in this growing understanding of seed ripening subject side moment by moment and nothing other than that, we are revealing to ourselves the lack of the me that we were holding to as somehow independent of that process, who was the one doing the process. And then when we get glimpses of, oh my gosh, that me not only isn't there, but it's impossible. It's like, yike, do I really exist? And if we get a sense in our meditation of like, I'm disappearing, it's a good sign, says Geshe Michael. And hopefully we understand our process of analysis well enough that we won't push ourselves over the edge into a mental illness, because it could. And so if we're getting to a place in our emptiness meditation where we are getting scared, please back out and start again or ask for help. When we can break through that, in a healthy, wise way, that's those obstacles to experiencing our own emptiness can clear out, is the idea. So if I'm nothing but my karma, then what becomes critically important moment by moment in my life? How I interact with other, even when I'm all by myself. How do I interact with my cup of tea? How do I interact with the floor I'm walking on? How do I interact with other that ripens appearing to be happening independent of ripening and planting imprints? I don't even know how to say it in this thing called the subject side, such that I can be burning away my misperception and planting virtue. The more we can hold our growing wisdom in mind as we do our deeds, the more powerful our seeds are colored by that growing wisdom, and the closer we get to experiencing it directly. So Master Shantideva, he concludes with this last term, Chashe ki tsokpala tene tanye taksam, that's spelled right. It means we are nothing more than a mental concept projected upon the basis of the collection of our parts. The sum of the parts without our mental concept put onto it is not our me. It's the mental concept put onto the parts that makes me and my parts. How I perceive me and my parts is forced on me by those seed ripenings, as we know. So through our own behavior, we can make the causes for future ripening seeds of Buddha me and Buddha paradise emanating. Or future seeds of Buddha you in your Buddha paradise emanating. And both, of course. Somebody says to Master Shantideva, I've never seen that happen to anybody. And he says, of course not. Until we've collected the karma, the virtue, we're not going to see any being doing it. It's like I find myself doing this argument. We're supposed to be doing yoga. And every time I yoga, I get hurt. And then I'm in pain for a year or more before it clears away. And so I finally gave up on yoga. And my mind wants to justify my not doing yoga as saying all those people who are doing yoga so they can see emptiness directly. I haven't seen a single one see emptiness directly because of the yoga that they do. So therefore, I'm not doing yoga. And it's wrong, right? It's complete wrong logic. Because it's because of my rotten yoga seeds that I don't see anybody in the yoga world having these realizations. Maybe they all have had. Maybe all you guys have. Probably so. And I'm the last dolt. But my own mind tries to use my own misunderstanding to justify my misunderstanding. It's like when I catch myself doing it, I just laugh out loud. But it doesn't make it stop. And it doesn't make me do yoga either. All right, so the moral to the story then is, or the last question is, well then, what do I have to do to make the seeds to see somebody in my world get these realizations, whether that somebody is me or somebody else? Either one, it would be encouraging. And Master Shantideva says, avoid those 10 non-virtues. Look at your refuge advices. They are advices by the Buddha on purpose because of the seeds they plant and the seeds they don't plant that we would have done. And then get and keep your lifetime layperson's vows, which really are not so hard. And then When you're ready, try on the Bodhisattva vows. And sometime, hopefully soon, the secret vows will come your way. The ones that are supposedly fast track. Although nothing in them, from them, that makes them fast track. Other than the goodness that we do to come to get them. So because we are nothing but our karma ripening, then we want to be kind, moral, compassionate. And as we are, those ripening seeds will help us see others and see ourselves as younger, more vital, all the way to beings made of light. When we continue to function through our belief in self-existent me, we can't help but be selfish because we believe that's what it takes to keep us safe and alive. But as a result, we choose a lesser morality, a lesser compassion, and a lesser loving kindness. And as a result, we perpetuate our seeds to see others in our world and ourselves aging, dying, etc. So when we go looking for this me in our physical parts, in our feeling parts, in our discriminating between things parts, in our all the other factors parts, in our consciousness parts, we find ourselves like peeling away the layers of a bamboo or sugar cane. And we're thinking we're going to find some core inside that's precious and useful. But when we actually get inside there, we find a hollow space, don't we? But technically, as we're peeling away all these different layers of where we think our me exists, it's not that we finally reach a hollow space where there's nothing. It's that we finally reach this place in our investigation where we go, I'm never going to find a thing that I'm looking for. All I find is this process of parts getting labeled. Parts getting labeled. What about the parts? Those are more subtle parts getting labeled as parts. Eventually we go, I give up. I'm not ever going to find what I'm looking for because there's no such thing. It's not that we finally find our self-existent me and we go, oh, you do not exist. It's that we've give up looking because we've looked everywhere and we see, oh my gosh, there's no such thing. That's different than finding it and negating it. Right? When we do the gotcha thing, we're finding something, looking for something that we think is there. But what do we find? Not there. No such thing. Not find it and then negate it. It's curious that they call the gotcha the thing that emptiness denies, because it isn't a thing at all. All right. That finishes this class. Oh my gosh, I did have time to go through the word by word Tibetan. Well, good. I get to book some extra minutes. I already used them up, so I won't put them in the bank. Yes, Luisa.
Okay, I have a question about the when you were explaining the continuum of the mind, the three arguments from Master Shantideva. There is something that is connecting those specific instances of mind, isn't it? Meaning there must be some connection, because if not, we will not have memory. and we will not know what we did yesterday or when we were children. So there is some sense of linkage between my me now and my me 165th moment after.
And when you go looking for that, what are you going to find?
Well, that there is the same argument of why there is reincarnation, isn't it? Like there is no moment of mine now that just pop up out of the blue.
Right.
It exists only because there was a moment of mine before.
Right.
And based on that argument, I would say, okay, so yes, it's true that my me now is different to my me in a 165th moment moment after, but
Mhm.
it's still me or some sense of mind stream because there is some linkage. I don't know exactly what is the linkage, and that's the question that I have. But
Right.
is it correct to say there is some connection between the moments?
It depends on what school you're in.
In the middle way.
Yeah, in highest middle way, they would say when you go looking for the thing that is the linkage, what you will find is ripening mental seeds labeling. There is a linkage.
Mm.
If we're
So I am
thinking there's a linkage
creating the
that's
linkage.
there, right, right, right. And
And this is why there is Alzheimer then, because the linkage is broken, for example. Like I
not
am not
broken, it's understood better.
no, what I mean is like the linkage is also producing the memory connection between the me now and the me 1 year ago. So if I don't have that seed anymore, then I won't remember who I was.
Right, right. And technically, when you have a current moment awareness that we are taking parts and labeling my memory of me 10 years ago, that's a current moment karmic ripening. That's valid, but there's no way to confirm whether it's correct. We are convinced it is correct because it's ripening as a memory, and it's my memory. But it's a current moment ripening according to highest middle way.
Oh, yeah.
So we can't use
Wow.
memory as a reason for why there's a me that must have some continuation as something the same from moment to moment, even if teeny, teeny, teeny the same, because I remember. It's like, no, memory isn't a valid, right? Valid reason for that, because it's not a memory, it's a current moment.
So the third
Experience.
argument from so the third argument from Shantideva is also not really explaining, or at least I don't get it, because he's just saying, yeah, there are two different, but there are a continuum kind of accepted.
Right. There is a stream. There is a stream. There's always going to be a subject side awareness because there's always a planted subject side awareness. It's never the same two moments in a row, like the stream is never the same two moments in a row, but there's a stream running. That's what he
Yeah,
means.
the point with that argument is like, how do you prove is the same? I mean, a related subject side and not another subject. Like there is not overlapping of subject sides.
No, because if you are experiencing someone else's subject side, that's your object. As long as you have an awareness, that awareness is subject. You can't have an awareness without an awareness of something. So you can't actually have a subject side without an object. But you can't ever have a subject side, somebody else's subject side, because that's your object. Even if you are mind melding and right, experiencing what they're experiencing, their mind becomes your object. Which is why in Maha Mudra, when we get down to finding our own me, the meditator, watching the awareness happening, that's one of the ways we show ourselves that me, the meditator, isn't me, the meditator, the way I think. Because we find ourselves in that subject. When we're looking at our own mind as the object, oh my gosh, there's no subject side that's subject side from its own side. If I can look at my mind as an object at the same time as I'm me, my me can't be the self-existent one I thought.
Huh. Okay, I need to think of this.
Yeah, good.
Lama, just other question regarding so what happens to me many times is, let's say I know we are planting our reality in the now, the future, but then it feels many times that we are not allowed to feel sadness or cry or right, because it's like, okay, I'm planting a future of suffering more because I am spending time in dwelling in my bad emotions. Like if I'm sad
Yeah.
and then I want to cry, then I feel like, oh no, I'm not allowed to cry
Yeah.
because then I am planting a crying Luisa in the future. So
Yeah, that's a good point. But it's really it's a valid conclusion, but it's I, that would be saying then it's a better seed to suppress my emotion than to feel it and process it and work out the karmic details. So yes, you're right. As we're sad and crying about the sadness, if we're not at the same time thinking, man, I'm so sad about this, I know these are karmic seeds, but I can't stop them. If we're not doing that and we're just blaming whatever we're sad about on our sadness, that's when we're perpetuating the mental affliction. But to say, no, I can't even let myself feel because it's a bad karma, we're just going to get sick and have worse mental afflictions as a result. So somehow think that through again and give yourself permission to feel those mental afflictions. Try hard to be recognizing it's just ripening seeds. I'm actually going to ripen them without being mean to anybody as a result and get them out of me. And then cry if you need to cry. And don't get angry and yell at somebody. Do something else to release the anger. But don't stuff those emotions because it doesn't make them go away. Thanks for bringing that up, actually. I'll bet there's more of us doing that than maybe we realize.
thank you, Lam.
Yeah. Anything else since we've got a few minutes? Yay, okay. So remember that one we wanted to be able to help at the beginning of class. We've learned stuff that we will use someday to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's a great, great good news. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hand. Recall your own precious holy beings. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into their heart, your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It fills you so full, it feels so good. We want to share it with others. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the true ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person, to share it with everyone we love, to share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with loving kindness, filled with wisdom, and may it be so. Okay. Thank you again for the opportunity to share. Thank you for doing your